So this is my weekly report for June 29th. And first, I want to tell you a little bit of what I did this week because, I'm always on the water. And the first thing this week, I took a trip up to Berryessa to try mooching for salmon. And, I left all my bass stuff home because I wanted to make sure that I didn't get bored to death and start bass fishing. So we went up there, three of us, a couple of friends of mine, and we were mooching, brought all our stuff for mooching. And I fished from probably 6:30 to 2 o'clock. And I can honestly tell you that we never had a bite. Not one bite. So I was grafting a ton of bait. The bait's all in like 10 to 20 feet of water in the whole lake. It didn't matter where I went. The bait's just up on the surface. And the water temperature is 72 degrees. And I wasn't grafting a whole lot of salmon. I know a couple guys that are also there trolling and they didn't get any either. I don't know if this heat that we have right now pushed them down, but I didn't get a bite. So other things I did, I went to San Francisco Bay, took my 10-year-old grandson, Dylan, and we had a good day out there. It was really rough. He got a little seasick. He has a little motion sickness problems, but he hung in there. He'd wake up when we hooked the fish, and he landed them. Jay told me where I should go try, and very helpful. We caught stripers and halibut. We lost a couple big ones, but the halibut in the bay has been really good. It's probably worth going there. You got to go get the bait over at Pier 37. You need live bait, and you could drift it with a 3-way with a dropper. And I suggest using a long leader, probably 4 to 6 feet long, and just drift. And they're probably anywhere from 25 to 55 feet of water. And I think on most of the boats that I saw were around Angel Island in the morning, and then when the tide changed, they all left, and they all went over to outside of Richmond, over in that area over there. And we also went over there and finished up the day and caught some fish over there too. Other things going on in the bay, I know Jay, Ricky Acosta, Steve Mitchell, these guys are all out there now on the bay, fishing frenzy. All the guys are out there. And there's some guys even doing a lot of shark trips right now. They're getting a lot of soup fin and leopard shark, which are your better eating of the shark family. And last week I was down in the bay. I caught a leopard. It was probably around 3.5, 4 feet long, but I released it. I've tried them before and they're edible, but I just prefer not to mess with them because as soon as you get them in the boat, you have to bleed them. You have to really take care of it, otherwise the meat gets sour. But the shark fishing has been really good also. In the Delta now, there's still a lot of stripers in the system, and there's a lot of stripers in the bay. One of the things I want to tell you guys, everybody that's out there halibut fishing, catching stripers also. And there was a bunch of nice sized fish in there, but I think a lot of them already moved and left and went outside the gate. And they go south and they go over to Pacifica over there. And there's guys catching them on the beach, throwing iron. You could throw jigs. There's a lot of different ways you could catch them. And they're even doing it at night. And they're getting some fish in the 25-pound class. So they're getting some big fish out there. So I think a lot of the ones that were in the bay have moved out of there and gone up to Pacifica. They'll usually stay up there, usually to around maybe the end of July, August, and then they'll start coming back in the bay, and then they start moving back in the Delta system in October, and then, that's when I really hit them hard, when they're in the Delta all the fall season and the winter time, and they get up on them shallow paths because they feed like crazy, just getting ready for the cycle to start all again so they can go upriver and spawn. So they're also catching a lot of stripers in the Sacramento River. They're also getting them in the Feather River. There seems to be a ton of them in our river systems this year with the high water. And in the past we've had so much drought that I think it restricted those fish from coming up. And when we got all this water, a lot of them made the move. So there was always a ton of fish in the system, but we just didn't know where they were because they weren't in any of the regular areas because of the low water conditions. So here we get a lot of rain, water comes up, and stripers are everywhere. They're not born yesterday, so there was a lot of fish in the system. It's just that the regular anglers where we went normally, there wasn't a whole bunch of them there because we had such low water conditions. But with the high water and the smoke releases, there's a lot of fish in the system. So you could basically go anywhere and catch stripers. If you want to catch fish in the Sacramento River, I would recommend fishing in the evening times and throwing rip baits and fish into the dark. And you should have some pretty good success. I was down in the Delta last week for stripers, and we caught over 30 fish, and they were in anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water, and I caught them on chatter baits. And I was doing some experiments, so I put on a white fish trap, which I always catch a ton of fish on, and I was getting bit probably every other cast on a chatter bait, an orange and red one, so it looked like a crawdad. And I picked up the fish trap and made 5 casts and never got a bite. So those fish are keying on crawfish. I said a long time ago that these fish make their main diet, crawfish. They love them. And those crawfish, they live in those big weedy flats where it's shallow. So I'm in 2 to 3 feet of water and catching the heck out of these stripers. I've caught some of my biggest fish in less than 5 feet of water. So those fish will go wherever the bait fish are. So other things in the Sacramento River also is shad. The shad season is going in full stream right now. You could catch them anywhere. Most of the action going on now because we're later in the season and the American River has been on fire. And I'm sure you could catch the heck out of them in the Feather River also. But the American River, the fish most of the guys are catching them off the bank. They're using the bobber. You got to use a bobber with a bobber stop to get that depth set right, probably around 6 to 8 feet. Toss it out and then drift it down. And they use those water bobbers, ones that you could fill halfway full of water so you could cast them halfway across the river. But the shad action is on fire right now, so if you want to catch a lot of shad, the American River is the place to go. And you probably want to use the 1-inch pink or chartreuse grub. That seems to work the best on a 1/38 ounce dart head. Also, the bank fisherman, a friend of mine's been going out there, and it's actually Jennifer. She's been fishing off the bank in the evening times and catching anywhere from 10 to 15 fish most of the time. And she's just using 4-pound test with a split shot. So you use a little 1-inch grub, and then you put a little 1/32 jig head in the grub, and then about 3 feet up you put a large split shot, cast it straight out, let it hit the bottom, and then just bounce it down, and you'll have a ton of hookups. So there's a lot of shad in the system now, so if you want to go out and have a lot of action. And also most people catch and release them, but you know what, they do make good table fare if you smoke them. They're excellent eating, they just got a lot of bones. There's some websites where you could go and look, and there's one European guy that can show you how to clean it and remove most of the bones. But a lot of the guys pressure cook them, and that melts the bones. But they're a good table fare, and they're also good fighters, so they're a lot of fun no matter if you keep them or not. Some of the other things going on, Big Nate's still been catching trout at Comanche and Pardee. So Pardee, he's been catching browns and trout and kokanee. So you could pretty much, because most of the lakes it's kind of quiet now because they don't plant no more because the water temperature is getting too warm, and you have to use downriggers and get down to catch them. So other things everybody's turning over to this time of the year is kokanee. That's one of the summertime fish that everybody seems to like to go catch. And some of your top lakes, New Melones, it finally settled down where there's not a ton of water coming in. There was debris everywhere, but now it's pretty much cleaned up. It's settled down a little bit, and the kokanee fishing busted wide open. A friend of mine, John Montana, was up there 2 days ago. They had their 10 fish up to 18 inches. And he sent me a picture, and they're really nice. They're probably around 16 to 18 inches. Also, Kevin Fogle, good buddy of mine, he's also snuck up there yesterday, and he got his limits, and they're also the same size. They're, you know, the biggest one was 18 inches. So the fish are a little bit bigger there than other places that I've been going. I've been going to Stampede. It's still red hot. You know, the fish are down about 50, 55 feet, and pink and purple seem to be the best color. And you want to fish straight out from the ramp, and they're very plentiful there, and they're 14 to 15 inch, and once in a while you'll get a 16. But another month from now, there'll be some in that 17-inch range. So if you're just starting out and you want to start kokanee fishing, I would highly suggest you go to Bullard's Bar first, because that's the easiest place to catch them. There's so many in there, but they're only like 10 to 12 inches. There's guys catching them around 13 inches, but you know, they're getting bigger. They're 10 to 12 inches, and you could get 10 there. Most of the other lakes are all 5 for limit, but Pardee and Bullards around here are 10, so you could catch 10 of those things there. So other things going on happening is, you know, the bass fishing. You know, that's probably one of my favorites, as you know. And I went down the Delta, took a friend down there, and you know, I was telling them, you know, I think these fish are starting to move in the current because the water temperature is starting to get over 70 degrees. So we went, and I had this one area where the water is running pretty fast. You know, for bass fishing, it's not where there's no current at all. It's actually moving pretty fast. And we stopped in the morning, and I told him, I said, you know what, I just have a hunch that, you know, they're going to be here and they're going to be chewing. And sure enough, we stopped there. He made a cast. I think his first cast, he caught one about 2. And then my next 5 casts, I put 5 fish in a boat up to 5 pounds. So right there, in just a matter of 5-6 minutes, you know, I had probably around 16 to 18 pounds of bass. And they're super healthy. And he was even telling me, hey, those fish are clean, no marks on them. They're very healthy. They're, you know, these are river fish. These are your northern bass. And they're in that current now. They're done spawning, and they moved out into the current. Other things going on is also lakes are red hot. You know, the guys at the shop are going out to Folsom, catching a ton of fish, drop shotting. They're just slaughtering them over there at Folsom. Berryessa's good. I imagine most of the lakes around here, you could probably go out and catch a lot of bass now. Don Paganelli has been going to Folsom and Berryessa with clients and catching and having no problem catching a lot of bass. So typically, you know, things are going good. We're starting to get warm, hot temperatures. I think fishing's going to bust open. It has busted open anyway, but it's just going to get better and better and better. Also, on Saturday morning, if you're heading out and you want to hear me on the radio, tune in to 1140 California Sportsman Show. I go on at 6:40 a.m. in the morning. Tomorrow, Saturday, I'm actually going to be live in the studio. And tune in to your radio on your way out fishing, and I'll give the latest report that's going on. If you like this channel, hit the like button. Please subscribe, because it'll help the channel out a lot. And if you want to leave me a comment on the bottom, I'll answer you back in, you know, a day or two. So, you know, the last video I did one on the bay. You could look back if you head to the bay. You could also check that out, and also the kokanee one, where I told you some of the basic 5 reasons why people make mistakes when they go kokanee fishing. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the report, and I'll talk to you guys next week.